And good afternoon. This is the Elliott Wave daily update for the NASDAQ 100 being recorded on Tuesday, August the 5th at 1:20 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Well, we had SMCI come out reporting their earnings. Looks like they didn't meet up to expectations. Stock closed at 57, now trading at just under 50. So it's trading at 49.85, kind of bouncing it around again. Also, we got AMD. AMD initially went up to, I think it was 177, maybe 178, putting the stock up about three and a half, $4. Now working its way back lower again. And so while that did provide some lift to NVIDIA, since AMD and NVIDIA are actually related by CEOs, but also just related products being chips. So it could be a precursor to what maybe people are going to be expecting from NVIDIA, which comes out towards the end of the month. So, what is it doing for the Elliott? Not very much. Um, we did continue to go to the upside or play to the upside pretty much until the opening. And once the market opened, we reached our pinnacle, we reached the top, and they immediately began to sell. Very much in line with what they did up here. We reached the top, and they definitely just began to sell. So, same kind of story. Excuse me, my voice. Same type of, I got to take a drink of water. Hold on. Sorry. Same type of a picture that we got going on up here, or we had going on up here. Market just started to, it peaked on the open, and then they started to sell it off, and then we got a larger move. And we got the same thing here. It's similar. It peaked, it came down, we rallied back, and then they sold it off. So if we're going to follow this pattern, it's going to take a while. And it is going to be a C wave, in my opinion. Again, all things remain on the table in terms of what exactly degree this is and how, again, now we're counting it down. Could this be a lesser degree? In other words, I got one, two, three, four, five. I'm labeling it as wave one of C. I get an ABC, I'm labeling it as wave two of C. So what we're now falling into is a third wave, which should move it down. So this would be again one, two, and then we start to slide. Now, doesn't look like much. Let me see if I can just get this open a little bit, move it up, move it out. Well, let's take a look inside this thing, right? So we got one, two, three, four, five, wave one, A, B, C, wave two. One could be, it's a strange little pattern, but it could be, two little bit of a failure there. We don't know. We got to wait for the market to kind of catch up with everything and make its play. AMD is now down. So again, we're seeing that pattern come through where they beat estimates, but yet they suffer and they start to head lower. So again, I don't know what that really tells us going forward, but it seems to be following the same pattern with everything that's kind of come out. And that could have everything to do with tariffs, everything to do with interest rates, everything to do with all the things that are surrounding our market at the moment. Um, and so none of that is really resolved yet. And so I'm just going to continue to count it as a corrective wave. And on top is going to sit minute wave four once we get down there. I say, once it's complete, I will put a minute wave four underneath it. Now, again, timing, we've discussed it. I'm not going to go into a greater detail again today. What I do want to include today is that, again, I likely should just become an affiliate for Spot Gamma because I think that is very important to understand what's happening underneath all of this market and how it truly is the options and how the options are trading versus bull versus bear. Now, yes, the options could dictate that simply because, you're buying puts, you're expecting the market to go down. You're buying calls, expecting the market to go up. But it's the combination that they do. It's how they trade them. It's is it a risk on atmosphere? Is it a risk off atmosphere? And so when I put that all together, it removes that focus on are they bullish or are they bearish? Because it's more just trading according to where things are lining up, where where large gamma positions start to gather. That kind of turns into magnets, so to speak. But when we do, dang, when we do get news, then it has a greater effect because it slides through levels. For example, in the Qs today, we opened around 565, played around there, went up a little bit, went down a little bit, tried to hold that level. Then it started to break after the opening, and it brought it down to that 563 level, which was the volatility trigger. Again, I'm talking about the Qs. So related to the NASDAQ, same index. So what happened then? When it broke 563, um, it slid. It slid down to, let me just check and see what their lows were today. 559. So, and in essence, what the Qs did, they went down to the large gamma 1 level, which was sitting at 560. And that was the severity of this initial, where's my cursor? There it is, this initial decline. So, but 560 was recouped. And right now, Qs are again trading about underneath 560. They got it back above 560. You see, we're dropping here to new lows for the sequence and new lows for the day. And so that's bringing the Qs back under 560. What do we have coming up next? Well, we have also at 560, and not only is it a large gamma 1, but it's the put wall. So if they can successfully dismantle that put wall, which should be providing some support, then we got to get adjustments going. And once the options stop trading, the only place they have to turn is the underlying. So it's going to be the Qs themselves or the futures market, because that's what's left open. So we're going to see probably a lot of that if things continue to head south. AMD is now down 7. As we're doing this update, from up 1 or 2 to down 7 and dropping quickly. So that's going to bring NVIDIA down. That's going to bring Broadcom down. That's going to, Google, which was up most of the day, is now turning lower. So again, it just turns things around and brings about some adjustments. So it's corrective. So we remain in this corrective structure. And now I'm looking for a little bit of acceleration as we come in to wave 3. Now, if we don't, and this is an A and this ends up being a B, it could be slightly irregular, we race back up. If 2's not done yet, 1 is there, ABC up, wave A, ABC down, if it stops here and rallies back, then that could be a B wave, slightly irregular, but then we're looking for it to come back above 23,256 to complete wave 2 and then drop again. We are seeing this more now, so don't be surprised. We're looking for it to really kind of go, but then suddenly it stops, it turns, and it runs. For whatever the reason, that seems to be what we can see, and it happens a lot in a wave 2 position now. So again, I would keep it as a wave 2, still looking for some acceleration to the downside. And we may get it now, we may have to wait and get it later. Not totally sure. But SMCI is now heading down. It's down 9, can be down 10. So again, when we start to put all of that together, then we're looking at something that could kind of really sink this thing. And that's pretty much what we're looking for. So again, 1, 2, looking for the third, a 4, and a 5. Now, again, talking about the degree, If we kind of get this all down, right? Like even though I'm putting this as a wave one over in the S&P, it doesn't necessarily look the same, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So 1, 2, 1, 2 coming down, could not be, maybe not. So I'm going to let this all trade out. The expectation is eventually either it's going to come up, put the wave two there, and then we're going to get that wave three, bringing it all down. But it throws this into place, right? And it could. Now, again, for a C wave, what's the most common? C equals A. And that level is 22,270. What's next? C equals 1.618 of A. That's 21,605. Could get serious here. Now, for the whole minute wave 4, what are we looking for? 21,481. Could stop here. We could get a C wave brings us down 22,270. We're just below 236, but let me bring it back out again. That previous fourth wave that we're looking at, I got to come out to my daily, yikes, is here. And that is just above 382. So bringing it back to that 15-minute chart to take a look at where are we, what we could be doing, it could all end up being dropped a degree, and it's just a sub-minuet wave one, sub-minuet wave two, and we're still working on the sub-minuet wave one, which could come in here. If we're truly looking for this larger drop down into here or down into here, that's a lot from where we are. So again, not that I'm saying I'm just giving the possibilities here, folks. And what I'm looking for sure is if it's the C wave, I needed to make a new low below what we had last week, and that low was 22,775. Below that, then we can start. If we can count 5, we can start looking for completion points, or we'll get additional information from the market itself. So this is where I'm going to leave this. Spot gamma levels will be updated in the morning, but trust to say that even in the NDX and the NQ, we went through the put wall, which was up above where the call wall is, and it has everything to do with how things are. The prices come up for the Qs. That's why within the NQ and the NDX, we're going to find that put walls and call walls don't normally, it's like you're normally looking for a call wall above the market, a put wall below the market. In the NQ because of the Qs, and that's where the most options trade. In fact, more options trade in the triple Q than in the NDX and the NQ combined. That's why I continue to look at the Qs. Those levels will be updated. So, but in the NDX and in the NQ, as it stands, we did go through the put wall. We did go through large gamma 3. We did actually start heading towards large gamma 4 and eventually went through it because that level was 23,220. So we went through it again here. We went through it there, gained it back, went through it again over here. So now we're dropping back through that large gamma 4. What would be up next as it stands? 23,170. Well, look where we are. So now what have we done again? We have gone through large gamma 1 and the call wall. So we're doing this when the options aren't trading. So if we start to really decline from here and we decline overnight, those options come into play tomorrow morning on the opening. We're going to be looking for an additional push. So this will remain interesting, which is why I'm going to continue to focus on the options and how they have a play in the products that we are trading. All right, those levels will be updated tomorrow morning. We'll have it for then. But for right now, I'm going to leave it as is. And we have some upside levels. I'm almost very tempted to take them down, but I'm going to leave them up in case this is just, it's all going to stop and something's going to come out and they're going to love it and they just start taking it up again. Because then they would remain resistant if we reverse and we start to head higher and looking for that completion of this B wave. and they could push it. Not necessarily looking for it, but hey, we know what my saying is. Stranger things have happened. All right, next up it will be tomorrow morning.